Hi, this is Christian Buckley. I'm the Director of Product Evangelism with Axceler, coming to you from Seattle area. And I'm talking about the one thing that people need to know about SharePoint 2010. I'm interviewing experts and MVPs and MCMs from around the world and capturing these little vignettes over the features and the functionality and the business utility that they think that you need to know about in SharePoint. So take a look.
Governance used to be a lot easier. Governance used to be, here's my farm, who's going to be allowed to use it, and what are they going to be allowed to do? But in 2010, with remote blob storage, with the ability to have partitioned service applications and even separate farms just providing services, there just are a whole lot more decisions that you have to make as a company in order to be successful with SharePoint. Otherwise, you just end up right where we were with SharePoint version 1, and that is people using it as a file share and having everything kind of mixed up in there.
Well, one thing that I've been talking about lately is the fact that you can integrate Windows Azure with SharePoint 2010. And the interesting thing is you can integrate it in many different ways. So, for example, if you think about Windows Azure as SQL Azure plus the Windows Azure platform capabilities plus the Windows Azure App Fabric Service Bus, you have these ways to literally take a reach in terms of putting services into the cloud and pulling those back within SharePoint, or building BI solutions using SQL Azure in the cloud, relational databases in the cloud, pulling that back and building nice dashboards in SharePoint, or literally leveraging the service bus to build remote apps. And what I mean by that is literally you can build Windows Phone 7 app or any application that's conversant with WCF. Your service could live in the cloud, use the service bus, and talk to on-premises SharePoint. So the point is, SharePoint 2010 is very powerful because not only do you have all of the APIs and object model capabilities built into SharePoint 2010, but you have this wider set of capabilities built into Windows Azure, SQL Azure, App Fabric that can then plug into that, which makes some very, very compelling integrated solutions.
I think the one thing that people really need to know are my 3 rules of SharePoint. Simplicity, simplicity, and simplicity.
Oh, really?
So it's so easy to go crazy with SharePoint, to overdevelop or overthink or overdo it. And that's not going to work out really well to try and do that all at once. Try and start simple, and whether it's coding, don't code that thing. See what happens out of the box. Don't write that workflow yet. Just do a drop down that says status. Keep it simple. And if you keep it simple, you'll be able to learn as you go and then add the sophistication and complexity later that is really required. But if you do it complex and sophisticated up front, it's probably the wrong thing and it's not going to be adopted. So simple, simple, simple.
With Power Pivot and the support for Excel services in 2010, you can now build a truly sophisticated application with a rich interface and put it in people's hands through the browser without any real programming involved. Power Pivot lets me tap into outside data sources. I'm not limited to the Excel boundary. I can reach out to SQL, Oracle, Teradata, DB2, file shares, stuff that uses XML feeds, any possible data source I have. It can be gigantic, I can bring it into Excel, then I can use Excel 2010 modeling skills to build out a rich user interface, display it in the browser. The people who use it, they don't need Excel 2010, they don't need any of the Office tools, but they can receive that information through their browser, whether it's running IE, Safari, Firefox, mobile clients. There's a way to get to it, and it's a really cool thing worth checking out.
It's more than just acknowledging that we have service applications now, but there's actually a framework for that, and what does that look like, and how do we associate those applications with different web applications? How do we create new service applications, and how do we manage the ones that are built into SharePoint out of the box? Obviously not just doing the default, turn them all on, but selectively deciding which ones you need, and then implementing them. And then once you do, of course, take advantage of the rich functionality, either from a developer perspective or using composites, so things like PCS and managed metadata store, etc. So.